Party peoples of the interwebs, Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler with something of an emergency Saturday afternoon broadcast. I'm in even more casual attire than normal. A lot of people have been pinging me saying, Viva, have you heard what's going on with this guy named Sam Feucht up in Canada? A so-called MAGA Christian musician who has had his permits for concerts pulled by the government of Canada. And stuff hit the fan yesterday, to not use expletives, given the nature of the conversation. I've been looking into this. I've been watching it progress, and it's sort of starting to mirror the Ottawa trucker protest itself, where people are like, hey, Viva, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I hear there's a convoy going on, and then it slowly built into what it built into. This originally started off as a story of someone having a permit pulled for a concert on public land in Canada. No, just a coincidence. Security. It's always security. Public crisis. We can't allow people to exercise their freedoms. And it has quickly spiraled into something much more nefarious, I dare say. This is from Canada Broadcasting Corporation, also known as the Communist Broadcasting Corruption. It's the CBC, a crown corporation in Canada, which is the lapdog of the government instead of the watchdog of the government, subsidized to the tune of $1.6 billion a year between CBC and Radio-Canada, the French version of it. This is what they're reporting. MAGA musician permit revocations spark public space debate. Permits for Sean Feucht shows on public land in some Canadian cities have been pulled. At first it was, just security issues, so we'll pull one. Then other cities started following suit. This is what's going on. The decision to revoke a controversial MAGA supporting performers' permits to hold events on public property has sparked a debate about who should be allowed to perform in public spaces. Controversial MAGA supporting person. They throw in the word controversial when they lack any other reason to demonize someone, when they lack any other evidence to demonize someone. I have no idea who Sean Feucht is. I've never heard of him before this, and something tells me a lot more people are going to have heard about him after this, especially when I put this on super ultra duper mega blast. So Sean Feucht is a religious singer from the US. Sounds controversial. From the US, who has expressed anti-diversity, anti-2S LGBTQ plus, and anti-women's rights views on his platforms. That sounds like a whole hell of a lot of crap. What would you expect a religious person to have views on as relates to 2S LGBTQIA plus rubbish? What do you think their views are going to be? Oh, it's controversial now to be Christian? Holy sweet merciful goodness. He was scheduled to perform at the York Redoubt National Historic Site in Halifax on Wednesday, but amid backlash from the Public Parks Canada, canceled his permit, citing safety concerns. Yeah. You got to stay home for safety. You got to not drive your car around for safety. You got to have all of your God-given constitutional rights usurped from you for safety. You'll be nice and safe in that prison, Canadians, trust me. Soon after, Feucht's permit for an event on public property in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Moncton, New Brunswick, and parts of Quebec were also canceled. Cameron Cassidy, an executive director of Pride PEI, said the city of Charlottetown, quote, absolutely did the right thing by revoking that permit. I think that just shows a lot of respect for the queer community on their end. You know what that shows? Disrespect for constitutional rights, you filthy fascist tyrants, period. Oh, the Pride organizer says, good for you, well done. Are religious people now going to be shunned in public society in Canada? Pride used to be a sin. Nobody ever really cared about what one liked to do with the genitals of another until they rubbed it in your face, almost quite literally. But not everybody agrees. James Turk, the director of the Center for Free Expression at Toronto Metropolitan University, said the decision to remove the permit raises a red flag. You know what else raises a red flag? Having peace-loving, peaceful Canadians beaten by RCMP militarized police to end the most peaceful protest ever. You know what raises a red flag? Being locked down, being coerced into taking experimental medical procedures. That's what should raise a red flag. We're beyond red flags, people, in Canada. This is event horizon level stuff. Turk said the price of democracy is living with viewpoints that we don't like. We can skip the story right now. You want to know what the red flags are? Does everyone remember what Kristallnacht was in Nazi Germany? I hate to use the inflammatory comparisons, but there was a point in time when people went around and broke the windows of synagogues in Nazi Germany. It was called Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. This man was trying to perform at a church, and on the one hand was being told by nothing shy of Gestapo-level police that he couldn't perform in a church because he needed a permit to perform in a church. I'll show you this video and I'll give you the overlay of the linguistics to this because it's in French. posted by Harry North. Alexa Lavoie from Rebel News is doing the Lord's work covering this as well. I'll play this, and I'll sort of tell you what they're saying in French as they speak, because many of you don't speak French, and you don't need to hear the language to know what's going on, but I'll tell you. Not allowing him to perform in a church. They're threatening fines. They're threatening fines for holding this concert. Now, what the person is saying is that under Article 176 of the Criminal Code of Canada, it's a criminal offense to interrupt a religious proceeding, a religious service. You can go to jail for 2 years if you do it. We've already invoked this clause. Any of these police officers who want to impede a religious ceremony could be found violating the criminal code. And if you have any doubts about it, and I know the arguments, people, I can think like a scoundrel, even if I'm not one. From the Criminal Code of Canada, Article 176, every person is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term of not more than 2 years, or is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. The different sanctions of criminality here. By threat or force, unlawfully obstructs or prevents or endeavors to obstruct or prevent an officiant from celebrating a religious or spiritual service or performing any other function in connection with their calling, or B, knowing that an officiant is about to perform, is on their way to perform, or is returning from the performance of any of the duties or functions mentioned in paragraph A, assaults or any other disturbing religious worship or certain meetings. Everyone who willfully disturbs or interrupts an assemblage of persons met for religious worship or for a moral, social, or benevolent purpose is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. Paragraph 3, everyone who, at or near a meeting referred to in subsection 2, willfully does anything that disturbs the order or solemnity of the meeting is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. Let me read subparagraph 2 to you just one more time. Everyone who willfully disturbs or interrupts an assemblage of persons met for religious worship or for a moral, social, or benevolent purpose is guilty of an offense. You want to see what happened when Sam Feucht tried to perform? Someone, with the police sitting idly by picking their bums, threw a smoke bomb into the church as the performance was going on. This is Alexa Lavoie, the voice Alexa, because in French, la voix means the voice. Tweets, breaking a smoke bomb was set off inside the church as Sean Feucht led his worship service in Montreal while Antifa and the mob celebrated outside. Remember the provision of the criminal code, interrupting a gathering for religious or moral purposes. Police appeared uninterested. I'm sure they were smiling. Look at this. That's the guy throwing the smoke dispenser out of the church. And this is Alexa Lavoie asking, who did that? Who did that? There you got your mob outside. There's a Palestinian flag in there for reasons unknown. And Antifa, and the police are just sitting there watching them. Did the police arrest the individual who, by the description of Sam Feucht, was a overweight individual wearing a white shirt? Did they arrest him? I don't think so. They're too busy arresting Alexa Lavoie and beating the ever-loving piss out of other journalists in Montreal, like Natasha from Montreal. Who did that? It's too late. The guy's gone. Now you're going into the performance in a church. I'll lower the volume a little bit.
I don't know who did it.
This is Canada, by the way, 2025.
You don't know who did that?
That's what happened. You want to hear what Sean Feucht had to say about it? It's actually amazing that the man can keep his composure. But there's some footage of him holding the incendiary device on stage. This is Alexa Lavoie interviewing him.
You just finished Let Us Worship here. But I want to talk about one of the protesters was able to come in and threw at you 2 firebomb.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts about this.
Just so you appreciate, it's not healthy to inhale that smoke. I saw a video on YouTube, CommieTube, as I've been calling it for the last little while, where they had filters showing the degree to which they could filter out the air. when you understand that you're inhaling that stuff and it turns the filters the same color as the smoke, people inhaling that, it's not good for you.
Well, I felt like something was going to happen. So I think in these situations, you always sing with your eyes open. You know, there's a story in the Bible about Saul throwing a spear at David, and he missed it. And so I always think about when I come into hostile environments, hey, I should keep my eyes open. So I saw a guy who was clearly not a church person run down the aisle, a big fat guy in white, with really angry, and he took the smoke bombs out of his pockets and lit them on the side inside of the church during mid-worship song, and then chucked them right at my head. And I dodged him, thankfully, and picked him up. And you know what? I'm so proud of the church here. They didn't stop for a minute.
We'll stop it there. This is Canada 2025, people. Canada 2025, where I mentioned the government propagandists parading as journalists. And no, I'm not talking about what people refer to as the activist journalists of Rebel News who are doing the Lord's work. CBC, Radio-Canada. I don't know exactly who this journalist is, which outlet she's with. What I can tell you is that they are carrying the water for the government. They went from being the government's watchdog to the government's lapdog. And when you're dependent on the government for your very existence, well, you won't bite the hand that feeds you. Listen to the question that one of these journalists, French-Canadian journalists, I think it's in French, I'll see if I have to translate, asks the performer, the controversial, MAGA-supporting Christian man, Sean Feucht. Listen to this.
That is because you don't have the permit to have the concert.
You don't have the permit to have the concert. Oh no. They're going to argue it's not worship, it's a concert. We need to, for safety, you can't just have anybody performing at a church. Horse crap. And even if you need a permit, does that mean you don't go and arrest vandals who could have injured someone or worse? You need a permit. Hey, Mr. Government, am I allowed to go worship the way I want to worship? Well, you need a permit for that. Hey, Mr. Government, am I allowed to walk outside of my house today? Well, you need your papers for that.
That is because you don't have the permit to have the concert.
I don't think you need a permit to worship in a church. Last time I checked, you don't need a permit to worship.
Freedom, Radio-Canada. It's religious freedom. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Religious freedom. You don't need a permit to worship.
The administration says you need a permit. Hey there, journalist. Have you thought about asking the administration why they said that? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you just there not only to repeat what the administration, the crown, says to its subjects, but to enforce it? How about you go ask the administration? Why do you need a permit? What about Article 176 of the Criminal Code? Oh, I'm sorry. Does the Criminal Code not apply to the government because they're the criminals?
Canada.
Well, you have to research your laws on that.
My
But,
God, it's incredible.
worshiping in a church, I don't believe you need a permit for that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's a very, no, there you go. You got the journalists, you got state-funded media, not only supporting the government, not only repeating the government rubbish, enforcing it for the government. My goodness, if you're Mark J. Carney, 3 passport-carrying globalist whore, you're sitting there, yes, excellent. I've got the media doing my bidding for me. And Sean Feucht just put out a tweet, and America should be on notice, and Trump should be on notice, and J.D. Vance should be on notice. You go to Europe and rightly condemn the European Soviet Union, you got to start rightly condemning even more so than you've already been Soviet Canada. Trump, it's worse than you think. It's not just fentanyl super labs crossing the border. It's not just terrorists crossing the border because of unchecked immigration. Canada is a lot closer to China than anyone might fully appreciate. This is what Sean Feucht writes. Sean Feucht, sorry. At Sean Feucht, F-E-U-C-H-T. I've been in touch with senior White House officials, and they are watching what is unfolding with blatant Christian persecution in Canada. We're keeping all receipts too. Well, Mr. Feucht, I'm helping you keep the receipts here as well, because I'm watching with utter disgust. I'm watching, getting thoroughly convinced and blackpilled that Canada is beyond the event horizon of tyranny, communism, socialism, statism, authoritarianism, whatever you want to call it. A country where you need to ask for permission in order to do anything, including exercising your God-given rights, which are protected supposedly under the Charter of Rights, under the Bill of Rights. Supposedly, you need to get a permit to worship in Canada now. They'll revoke your permits if they consider you too controversial of a Christian songwriter, a Christian performer. Well, if you're a Christian performer, but you're not down with 2S LGBTQIA plus and transgenital mutilation of children, well, you're too controversial. We're going to pull your permits in Canada. Canada is going to get what it tolerates, and it's going to deserve what it tolerates. And Sean Feucht is damn right to put Trump on notice, to put Canada on notice, because what's going on there is obscene, it's disgraceful, it's disgusting. If you're still watching this and you haven't hit subscribe and you haven't dropped a comment and you haven't turned on notifications, I don't know what I have to do to make you subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a comment in, share my channel. It helps the channel grow. CommieTube has been particularly commie with me these days. You talk about things that they don't want you to talk about, and my goodness, they flip the spigot and it's like you don't exist on it. CommieTube anymore. Viva Fry, if you want to get some merch, vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the best above average legal community out there. That's what's going on in Canada. God save Canada. Peace out, peeps.